Welcome to Buy, Hold, Sell. My name is Matthew Kidman, and today we have Ben Rundle from NAOS and Don Williams from Platypus. And everyone in Australia likes to talk about housing, and from the share market you can get exposure from a number of ways. More recently, the housing market seems to have peaked after a very good run. So let's talk about some of the stocks that might be exposed there. Don, let's start with you. Big end of town, one of the biggest lenders in Australia for the housing market, Westpac. Buy, hold or sell?
I'd put that on a hold. I mean, it's got a good yield, but the earnings growth rate of Westpac and the major banks is pretty anemic at the moment.
So Westpac, housing market, they're linked, but the market's not really saying that. They're just saying there's not much growth, like Don's just summarised. Buy, hold or sell?
I am probably happy to buy Westpac for the moment. Like, I think it has come back, a reasonable way. They've shown they have pricing power. They recently raised, well, they're the first mover to raise their residential lending rates. I think it's okay value. I think it's probably edging into buy territory.
Okay, mortgage insurer, Genworth, it's been a disaster since it listed.
Yep.
Westpac pulled out, lost them as a client. Seems to be in kind of a slight runoff. Buy, hold or sell?
Yeah, I'll just say hold for Genworth. I don't know the stock particularly well, but I did see that their gross written premium has been hampered a little bit by the high LVR market coming off a little bit, and the banks are supporting that theme of not lending too much to the high LVR space at the moment. So, look, I don't know it that well. I think it's probably a hold.
No growth, Don, but a lot of value there.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's a no-go zone. It really doesn't have any earnings growth, I mean, we would argue that it shouldn't even be listed.
Okay, REA obviously has had a lot of growth, continues to, very expensive. Buy, hold or sell?
Look, if you can look out 3 years, you could probably justify a buy. But I think with REA, you really have to wait for volatile periods in the market to get it at a decent price. So if you owned it, I guess you'd hang on to it. But we're looking for an entry point that's a bit lower than where it is now.
REA's been a powerhouse for a number of years now, but it's always been expensive. Buy, hold or sell?
Yeah, I think it's a buy, particularly if it sells off on any sort of housing concerns, because as houses stay on the market longer, REA actually makes more money from the listings. So Don's right, maybe you can get a better entry point, but that's very hard to scenario to play out with REA, so I'm happy to buy it at the moment.
Okay, let's switch to the US housing market, and one big Australian stock that's over there and does well, James Hardie. It's done well out of its profit result.
Yep.
Buy, hold or sell?
It's a buy for me. I think James Hardie is one of the highest quality stocks on the ASX. I think if you look back to how they performed during the GFC and the housing subprime crisis in the US, they went in with a huge amount of capital, they took market share, and they're able to leverage the upswing coming out of it. So I think it's very well run. I think it's a buy.
Building materials in the US you'd think would be a hard job, Don, but they've done a terrific job. Buy, hold or sell?
Yeah, they have. It's a buy for us. It is one of the highest quality businesses in that sector, and I think it's a buy.
Okay, let's get back to Australia. Yep. Harvey Norman, they sell everything you want to put into your house. Done very well recently. Buy, hold or sell?
Look, I'd put it on a buy, but on a short-term basis. The fact that 50% of the stock is locked up is a bit of an issue for most investors. We don't think it's as good a business as JB Hi-Fi, for example, but in this environment where we're a low growth environment, Harvey's is a decent counter. Yeah,
for an old business that's been around for a long time, it's getting terrific growth. Buy, hold or
they've
sell?
done a good job. It's buy for me too. You're seeing it come through the earnings in terms of their late cycle housing exposure, I think it's probably pretty hard to find stocks out there to buy. So I think Harvey Norman's probably one that you want to buy.
The housing cycle might have peaked in Australia, but there's still some opportunities out there from the equity market.